You're listening to How to 20-something, the only podcast that helps both men and women navigate their 20s and learn how to adult across all aspects of their lives. We're going to be focusing on career, relationships, finances, fitness, nutrition, and all of the common challenges and obstacles a typical 20-something will face in this post-college life and what to do about it. I'm your host, Just Diamond, and I am the CEO and founder of Just Diamond Coaching, where I help young professionals get their shit together, gain their confidence, and own their life. No one prepares you for this adulting world, so allow me to help you feel like you are no longer a chicken running around with its head cut off, and that you actually know what the hell is going on and what your next step to take is. Welcome to How to 20-something. Welcome back to How to 20-something, where today I'm going to discuss the social dynamics between an introvert and an extrovert. And what I mean by that is introverts and extroverts view the world very differently. Neither is bad or good or better or worse, just different. And I think it's important to note these differences so we better understand our personality counterparts. Plus, it's always reassuring to know you're not alone in your introvertedness. And I say that because this episode really came to mind as summer came into full swing, and I realized that a lot of what is considered to be normal for people in their 20s is really catered to those who balance on the more extroverted side of things. You see, there is a spectrum when it comes to introvert versus extrovert, and you can lean more towards one way depending on the situation you are in, or fully identify as one over the other in all situations. For example, I am an extreme introvert when I am in the bar scene. I'm uncomfortable, I'm overstimulated, I'm easily drained, and the second my social battery runs out, I need to go home immediately. Compared to when I'm at either one of my gyms, I am energized. I could be there for hours. I am goofy and dancing around and happy, and I find that I don't need to go home to decompress afterwards. I also find that I need to decompress after social settings regardless when I'm out and about, whereas I have friends who are extroverts and they'll make plans right after having plans. And for me, I can't comprehend that. So I consider myself to be more on the introverted side because of that, and also because I tend to be in deep thought before contributing to a conversation. Some may call it overthinking, but that's besides the point. I also enjoy my alone time, and I find myself needing to decompress from my day almost every day. Like I said, I'm not making plans if plans don't need to be made at the end of the day. And that's really the difference between who is an introvert and who is an extrovert. By definition, it's where you get your energy needs from and how you interact with the world around you. But even further, I'm going to break it down, what an introvert is compared to what an extrovert is. At the surface level, an introvert is someone who focuses more on internal thoughts and feelings instead of external stimulation. If you're an introvert, you find energy and comfort in solitude, small groups, and quieter and more peaceful atmospheres. You prefer deep, meaningful conversations as a way to fill up your social cup, and you need downtime to recharge. A common misconception about introverts is that they are shy. Not all of them are, because shyness is a fear of social judgment, while introversion is a preference for less stimulating environments. And to add to that, introverts are also not antisocial. They just don't care or have a like for large gatherings. The world needs introverts, as they're able to provoke deep thoughts and are effective problem solvers as a result of all of this thinking. So if one of your friends is an introvert, you probably find yourself having deeper level conversation with them because they have keen listening skills. An extrovert, on the other hand, is generally outgoing, energetic, and thrives on social interactions. You probably recognize them as the life of the party. They are more talkative, expressive, and enthusiastic. They love social interactions and actually crave it. And with that, they find great joy in meeting new people. Extroverts have a wide circle of friends and acquaintances and enjoy networking. They process their thoughts out loud. They have strong social skills, and they thrive in teamwork-centered projects. Common misconceptions about extroverts is that they actually do like their moments of quiet and introspection. They can have deep, meaningful conversations, and they don't constantly need attention or to be the center of attention. Now, I'm going to be straight up and honest, and it's for the purpose of this episode's title, and that is, the world was built for extroverts by extroverts. And it can be really tough to be an introvert in an extroverted world because you feel like something is wrong with you. But I want to bring to light that society is gaslighting you. Like I said, being an introvert or an extrovert is neither here nor there, but it is important for you to know where you stand on that scale and where the world tries to make you feel weird for it so you can catch the gaslight in the act and care for yourself and what you need the most to thrive in your world. So, let's get into how this world is catered to extroverts and what to do about it. To begin, let's all have a flashback to our first ever school group project where you and 4 to 6 of your classmates are forced to come together and create a project and present the project. So while you probably work best alone or with one other person, here you are being forced to collaborate with people you probably didn't get to choose. Fast forward to adulting world, and now you're having to work with multiple different people for multiple different projects. So while yes, group projects do prepare you for the real world and teach you how to work well with others, they never go over well. The extrovert usually does all the talking when you guys come together and hardly lets anyone else get a chance to think and then speak up. And this is because the extrovert thinks best out loud. It's to no fault of their own. But while an extrovert is thriving, the introverts are hiding. And remember, we need our introverts to contribute to the conversation because of their strength in deep thinking and problem solving. Another common characteristic of working in an office is an open floor plan and cubicles. So here you are constantly being surrounded and approached by other people, and the only peace and quiet you can create for yourself in this setting is putting in headphones and hoping no one bothers you, making it that much harder to want to do something after work because you were just overstimulated with less than meaningful conversations for the last 9 hours and you're ready to lose your mind, whereas extroverts remain unfazed. Yes, I'm speculating, but judging from knowing extroverts, they present being unfazed. They find great joy and excitement in walking around the office and chatting with others. And I was lucky when I had my corporate job because I was in a small room in the back of the office with 2 other girls around my age, and we would have good conversations, we would have quiet time, we would even have movie time while we did our work, and I wouldn't feel completely drained at the end of the day. My first job, however, gave me too much alone time and zero stimulation because I was alone in a satellite office for about 75-80% of the week. So we need a kind of a middle ground there. On average, I will say the corporate world is catered to the needs and success of an extrovert with the group collaboration, the cubicles, and the open layouts. An improvement in the corporate world is the little phone booths that have been put in throughout different offices, but even still, you are expected to be at your open layout desk for a majority of the time. And then you're labeled as not a team player or doesn't work well with others if you lean towards the introverted side of the spectrum and choose to use headphones and sit by yourself. Another large part of the working world is the power of networking and the need to be constantly connecting with other people in your industry. Your network is your net worth. We know this. But for introverts, walking into a networking event is very intimidating, overwhelming, and requires a lot of mental energy and then time to recharge your social battery afterwards. My friend created her own networking group this year. She's an extrovert, clearly, and I go to show my support for her. And I have met some pretty great people by continuing to show up, but I do need that mental preparation to get there. But at the end of every meeting, she'll say to all of us to go schedule a one-on-one with someone in person to get to know them better, which is great for us introverts. And at one of the meetings, I met a girl, and while talking, it turns out her boyfriend has been coming to my group classes for over a year, so we set up a one-on-one, and we went walking together one day after work. On this walk, she was talking about professional networking and how if she meets 3 people, she gives herself a gold star for that event. And I said, if I meet 1 person, I give myself a gold star. And then I broke it down even further of if I show up, I give myself a pat on the back. If I talk to someone new, I get a gold star. And if that's someone new and I connect really well, then it was the best day ever. Huge successful moment. And after hearing my breakdown, she actually agreed with what I had to say. So while maybe it does get a little easier to show up to networking events, it still requires a lot of energy from me and a lot of mental preparation. If you're a fellow introvert listening, you might feel the same way too. However, networking is a huge part of success in any career that you will ever go into. So it's a matter of adjusting your own standards when it comes to these events and then spacing them out throughout the month as well. But you need to be well connected to help yourself advance, which means regularly meeting new people, as awful as that sounds. This socializing, it comes easier to our extroverted friends, as does the expectation to constantly be networking. But as an introvert, you have the skill set to develop strong one-on-one relationships. Maybe you don't know 100 people in your industry, but you know 5 people really, really well. So it's using your skills to your advantage. Now, the most important aspect of being an introvert in an extroverted world is knowing how to make it work for you and your needs. Like I said, it's giving yourself time to decompress after the event is over, going into it with the goal of talking to just one person, and spacing these events out so you don't overkill your social battery in 1 week and then need 3 weeks to recover. Showing up is the hardest part. This is what I tell my introverted clients to do. Like, just show up, and you'll probably get approached by some extrovert. All of the people I know at my gym are the extroverts, and it's because they're the ones who have come up to me to strike up a conversation. We get adopted by an extrovert. It's a real thing. But where you show up to is also important because it's already some place of interest. Hopefully, if you select a place of interest that you're showing up to. So it's some commonality that invites conversation because you already know why you're there. And you're already a little bit comfortable with why you showed up. That's why clubs, sports, hobbies, interests, they're all exceptional ways of making friends or building your network, where all we really need to do as the introvert is show up and have a smile on our face and our arms uncrossed, because body language is very important. Now, us introverts got lucky with the pandemic because that expectation to constantly show up to things subsided for 2 solid years. I say got lucky loosely because the global shutdown was detrimental to our social skills amongst many other things. And while I think everyone was deeply affected by the pandemic from a social standpoint, it did finally give introverts an opportunity to thrive in their workplace because they got to work from a quiet and private place. Extroverts suffered during this time because they were stripped of that in-person interactive environment that helps them thrive. But it did make it really obvious as to how this world is set up for extroverts over introverts. I've said this before, but I know my social skills were severely hindered by the isolation from the pandemic. Then add in a traumatic friendship breakup, and hiding out from everyone else sounds a lot more inviting than exposing myself to new people who could potentially hurt me. It's something I'm constantly working on, and I know that hiding out negatively affects every part of my life, from my dating life to my friendships and social circles and my business. I also know I'm not alone in wanting to hide all the time, and the pandemic opened this door, Pandora's box, if you will, and allowed it to be an excuse for a lack of a social life and friendships. I don't remember being this introverted, this fearful of rejection, until the world started opening back up and I wanted to stay in. We're all going to suffer the negative side effects of a global shutdown for a long time, but that's not the point of this episode. The point of this episode is to highlight where society caters to the needs of an extrovert and what you can do as an introvert to help yourself feel more accepted while also taking care of your social needs and personal needs. Humans as a whole need social interactions on a regular basis. Otherwise, we'll spiral. It doesn't matter whether you're introverted or extroverted. It does, however, make it much harder to feel normal or accepted when you're an introvert who needs a timeout and your fellow extrovert and society as a whole doesn't seem to get it. Another area this is highlighted in your 20s, both in college and the real world, is the social expectation to want to engage in activities that revolve around groups. Groups of friends, bars, parties, large gatherings, you name it. As an introvert, we get overwhelmed with a lot of people around. I know I find myself shutting down because I'm too overstimulated and want to just hibernate. And it's usually past my bedtime, so I'm exhausted. Something I've had a really hard time with over the last year and a half primarily is my lack of desire for wanting to be at the bars with the rest of the 20-somethings. And I get really hard on myself for saying things like, why can't you just be normal and enjoy alcohol and partying and late nights like everyone else your age? My therapist even wanted me to get on anti-anxiety meds so I could learn to enjoy those moments. My coach was like, what the fuck? And then proceeded to remind me that I'm not a normal 20-something, and that's what makes me so good at the work I do. Now, I've known my coach for longer than my therapist, so she does know me better. I'm not saying that my therapist was wrong for her recommendation. She was doing her job, and after I was able to tell her that I don't want to be medicated for a night out, she was able to help me accept my quote-unquote abnormality for not wanting to be at a bar with other 20-somethings. And also learn to be okay with having 2 or 3 really good friends instead of a big group of friends. Because I would get really in my head about walking into a bar with one person instead of a whole group. And it's really not that big a deal. No one's paying attention to you that closely. Now, I've learned that it's really society's expectation and definition for what normal is and what is highlighted on social media. But honestly, I don't think it's normal to want to be at a bar until 1 or 2 a.m. every weekend. In my opinion, it's reckless. Sure, every now and then it's fine, but I find it to be a shortcut to trying to have fun. Most people aren't really having that much fun. But it sucks when the world is telling you should want to be social and partying while you're still young and free. And my extroverts listening are like, yeah. My introverts are like, oh, is something wrong with me? And a big part of growing up and maturing is knowing that you don't have to like all the same things as other people your own age. Don't scold someone for disagreeing with you on what a fun night looks like, but know what your fun night looks like just because it's your life. The college students who come to me for life coaching learn this lesson pretty early on. They typically are the college student who doesn't drink or go out or enjoy being around other drunk college kids, and that's fine. But they do find it hard to make friends. So what we get to work on is what they can do instead that still allows them to make friends and develop their sense of community. It's hard being the one who doesn't want to go out all the time. You definitely feel like an outcast, especially if you still want to be invited out, even though you know you'll say no. Having that opportunity to decline gives you some sense of people remember to think of you when they want to have fun. And when you finally say yes, it's important to not judge your friends for the decisions they're making while intoxicated and to let yourself get home safely when you're annoyed by their drunkenness. That's what I used to do. I would call it my Cinderella era. I would go out with everyone and then go home when they got annoying. And I mentioned this in the social media episode too, but it can feel really hard to see everyone your own age enjoying being out and socializing in large groups, and as a result, you feel isolated and like the odd man out. One of my clients told me that she sees groups of people together and she wants that opportunity to decline an invite. She doesn't want a giant group of friends for herself. She doesn't want to be out partying, but she does want to feel included on a social level, even if that means she's still going to be in her room by herself on a Saturday night. When I told her that I have the same feelings of wanting the invite even if I don't want to go, she was relieved. She felt validated that someone else shares these same thoughts. And that's what happens a lot with my clients. I get to be their source of validation that what they're experiencing is normal. The world has just spent a long time painting this picture of what is considered to be normal, and there is a very large difference between how an extrovert views life and how an introvert views life. So even if you know for a fact your introverted friend is going to say no to whatever it is you're doing, invite them anyways. Don't decide for them. Let them answer. It's going to mean the world to them that you even considered them when planning your festivities or activities. And on that note, to my introverts listening, it is way better to give a flaky no than a flaky yes. I believe I've said this before, but when you RSVP to something and you're saying yes, you better 100% mean that yes. Even when the day comes and you no longer want to go, you need to pull it together, charge up your social battery, and go. Commit to your yes, even if that yes is you going for 45 minutes and then returning home. It's still showing the people who invited you that you care and that you are reliable to your word. If you're someone who has a habit of saying yes and then flaking out the day of, if not the hour of, then you're not going to keep getting invited to things because your word means nothing. Giving a flaky no is better because you're saying no, not right now, but if you change your mind later on, most people are going to respond with, oh my God, yeah, come along. So that goes for whether you're an introvert or an extrovert. You need to RSVP with confidence and stay true to your word. Now, if something major comes up that creates conflict, that's a whole other story. I'm talking about being reliable because people crave reliability and stability. I was recently invited out with a new group of friends, and I said yes about 4 days in advance when I got the invite. Then the day of, I was mentally preparing myself to go, and I ended up staying out to dinner until 9 p.m. and then not even making it out until 9:30. And if anyone knows me, they know I'm in bed by like 9:15, even on a Saturday night. But because I said yes originally, I made sure that I got myself out. And I actually ended up staying out until 11:30 and having a pretty good time. So that goes to show you it's important to say yes to everything. If you are trying to make friends, whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, you need to say yes to things that are maybe slightly out of your comfort zone. Not all the way out, but a little bit enough where you can go home on a moment's notice if you need to. But you have to commit to what you're agreeing to, even if it's for 30 minutes. Mine happened to be 2 hours, but I did go into it with the mentality of go for 30 minutes. So I tell you that because I've had friends where honestly, we're not really friends anymore because I got tired of their word meaning nothing. And I wanted to prove to this new friend that I am reliable. Because it's really shitty to be in a place where you're like, I can't count on this person for sure. I can't count them in for sure because they have a reputation of flaking out last minute or being really late or forgetting altogether. And that's a slap in the face. Introverts' relationships mean so much to them. They are all very high level, high quality, and we want the same respect in return. It's not saying that extroverts don't have high quality relationships. It's just saying that extroverts have a wider pool with a few deep spots and introverts have a deeper pool with barely any shallow spots. But from one introvert to another, it's important to preserve your energy needs and know when you've maxed out and what you need to do to help you recharge without going into total isolation for days on end. Draw yourself a bath, turn off your phone, take a nap, sit in silence, or watch an episode of your favorite show. Do something to help you decompress and reset. This could even look like planning one social interaction for the entire day and giving yourself the rest of the day to be alone. It'll get easier to have more plans, but it can definitely feel foreign and uncomfortable and overwhelming and draining at first. To my extroverts listening, give an introvert space to think and respond or contribute. I find that a lot of extroverts are uncomfortable with silence, so they'll keep talking to avoid that lull. But by doing that, you're not even giving the introvert in the room a chance to speak up. To my introverts, cherish your one-on-one relationships. Have a solid routine that helps you decompress, and know that you're not alone in this experience of feeling weird for not enjoying the same things as your extroverted counterparts. Like I said, the world was primarily built for extroverts by extroverts, but that doesn't mean you're the outcast. If this is something you struggle with and need help learning how to build up your own community or exist in this extroverted world, then please schedule a call with me. I've helped plenty of introverts in the past, and I know I am well equipped to help you too. All you have to do is click the Let's Chat link in the show notes and pick a time that works for you, and I'd be happy to just have a conversation with you. But this does conclude another episode of How to 20-something. If you liked what you heard, if your extroverted friend doesn't get it, or your introverted friend feels like an outcast, then please pass this episode along, post it on social media, and tag me in your story at coach.jessdiamond when you do. Otherwise, I can't wait to be in your headphones again next week with another brand new episode.